Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Mind Movement Health Podcast. I'm your host, Kate Boyle, and today I have a very special guest on the podcast. Bridgitte, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to dive into this conversation.
Well, so am I, because I think gut health is one of those things that we all hear a lot about, but maybe we don't know what we really should be doing because there's so much information out there and some of it's conflicting and confusing. So it's great to have you on the show today. But before we dive in, can you just give our listeners a little brief overview of who you are and what you do?
So my why of what I do, and why I'm so passionate about gut health is I struggled with gut health issues my whole life. I was in school to become a registered dietitian, and I was constipated and bloated. I had IBS. But then when I went to grad school, it got a lot worse. And it really felt like my body was failing me. My schooling as a dietitian was failing me. And I wasn't getting answers from doctors. And so I went and found functional medicine, and that changed everything. I did a poop test, which was not sexy, but really showed me that my migraines, my thyroid issues, my ADHD, my gut issues, like everything was stemming from having an imbalanced gut. And so when I shifted that, it shifted everything in my life. My health completely transformed once I fixed my gut through a personalized plan after that test. And that's my why of what I do. And we started a supplement and functional medicine practice 4 years ago, GutPersonal, and now we serve women and help them fix their gut through personalized supplements and a functional medicine practice. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Well, I think your story a lot of people can relate to. Do you know what I mean? Like gut issues, bloating, IBS. I reckon most women at some point in their lives have experienced that. And sometimes it's really hard to get answers or kind of know where to start. So for somebody that's listening in that maybe doesn't know, too much about their gut health, where's a great place to start?
Yeah, so you want to see, a lot of people have imbalanced guts, and to your point, aren't sure. But the big signs that your body is showing you that it is having gut issues is if you're sensitive to certain foods. Some people will say, oh, spicy foods make me feel off, or gluten or dairy, or, insert said food group, raw vegetables. So if you're reacting to foods, that's a sign that your gut is out of whack. And then really the gut is the center of all health. So when we think of like skin issues, think the gut. When we think of the gut brain connection, when we think of ADHD, anxiety, depression, those are linked to poor gut health. Constipation, diarrhea, all those overt gut symptoms. Your body's telling you, like, hey, something's going on with me, and it's really important to listen.
And for somebody that's maybe had bloating issues and things like that, I think that's a really big one for women. Maybe
Yeah.
it's a little bit hormonal, do you know what I mean? Sort of, just before they kind of get their period of stuff, they get a lot of bloating, or maybe, as you said, it's after eating certain foods. What are some of the things we can do for bloating?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. So making sure you're pooping enough is actually one of the most important things. I think a lot of women are chronically constipated who are bloated. And when I mean constipated, that might mean I go every other day. That's constipation. Or maybe I don't eliminate enough when I go to the bathroom. That's constipation too. It's not just, oh, I only go once a week. You really want to make sure you go 1 to 2 times per day and you feel really complete. So one, that'll help with the bloating. Two, dealing with your microbiome, maybe taking a probiotic because bloating, especially kind of the hormonal bloating you're talking about, can actually be the interaction of hormones with bad bacteria in the gut. So even though it's hormonally driven, maybe at a specific cycle in the month, taking a specific probiotic, like a well-rounded probiotic, like we have the go-to. A lot of different strains that's going to support your microbiome. The go-to probiotic will go in there and support the good bacteria in the gut. So that would also help with bloating.
Mm. And as far as what I know with probiotics, I think that's another kind of area that people are a little bit unsure of. They're like, should I take one? Is it worth taking one? Some of them are super expensive. Are they doing their work? What, when it comes to looking for a probiotic, should people be looking for?
Such a great question. So we created a quiz. The most important thing about a probiotic is that it's personalized for what you're going through because we have alone four different probiotics. And then, on the market, there's hundreds, right? So it really is confusing and it's such a saturated supplement. Really making sure it's personalized. So, for example, if you're having like urinary tract or vaginal issues, that's one probiotic, right? So, like UTIs, yeast infections, things like that, those are very specific strains. So, we have our women's probiotic for that. Um, if you're having a lot of gut issues, a lot of women say, okay, I tried a probiotic and I felt worse. That's so common. And what you need there is one single strain. It's called Saccharomyces boulardii. It's really supportive in helping get rid of bad bacteria because if you take a probiotic and it makes you feel worse, that really just means there's too much bad bacteria in the gut. So a probiotic is a good thing to do, but it needs to be that Saccharomyces boulardii strain, which we carry in a probiotic called the booster. So that's really going to help get rid of some of that bad bacteria. But it's hard to figure out. So we have a quiz for that
Oh.
as well. If someone's like, okay, which one do I take? We have a quiz for that because it really just needs to be personalized.
Well, I'll link that up in the show notes too, so listeners can head across there to find that link for the quiz because I think that's really helpful because you can often spend, a lot of time just looking at different bottles, not really knowing. Your doctor said, yep, you're going on a course of antibiotics. Please take a probiotic. And you're like, yep, okay, great. But I have no idea which one I'm supposed to be taking.
Yes. Oh, that brings up a good point too. That Saccharomyces boulardii strain, that's the one you want to take during and after antibiotics. So
Good to know.
there you go. There you go.
And when it comes to supplements, because I think it's a good segue to move into that, again, it's another kind of area where we hear you should be getting all your nutrients from your food. You shouldn't really need any supplements. But, I know that there are supplements that we really do need. Vitamin D is a really big one, especially depending on what climate you're living in and things like that. So, when it comes to supplements, what should women in particular be looking for?
Yeah, that's such a good point. It really depends on what they're working on. And that's why I started the company that I started because I was in the supplement space and I was actually a supplement buyer for a pharmacy. And so I would like curate all the supplements in the store. I mean, it was a big store. We had thousands of supplements. And what I loved about that experience was that people would come into the store and they would ask me as the dietitian, hey, I'm dealing with, let's say, bloating constipation and I want to get pregnant. And I could say, great, I know exactly what you should be on. Okay, we're going to put you on magnesium because you're constipated. That's also going to help with the bloating. We'll put you on this probiotic and then we'll get you a prenatal multivitamin, right? And so when I was thinking about what was missing in the supplement space, it was that personalization, right? Because it's so hard as a woman to try to navigate your health, but then to try to navigate how can I support my health more naturally? Because I'm a dietitian, I wish we could get everything from food. We just can't. You know what I mean? I think that was altruistic thinking when I was going through school. I thought, oh my God, I can just heal my body through food. It didn't work. The body and what it needs to heal is more than just good nutrition. So that's where supplements come into play. So that quiz that we have will help personalize all supplements and create a personalized protocol. The quiz is what I developed with our lead dietitian to help take away that frustration, take away that noise and that overwhelm of what should I take.
Mm. And I think, as you mentioned before, a lot of it is individualization. It's making sure
Yes.
that you are getting the testing done in the first place, not just going, oh, to your friend, what are you taking? Oh, that sounds good. I'll take that too, because you might not need it.
Yes, that's such a good point. And we do, the poop testing and we'll do blood work as well. But some of our clients come to us, some of our customers come to us and they say, here are my vitamin D test results. How much should I take? So we're really like so much more hands-on than a typical supplement company. You know what I mean? Like that's what I knew I needed. I needed more support. And sometimes we don't get that from our doctors. Rarely do we, get that. So.
Yeah, and I think too, part of it is that sort of knowledge, but then also having, as you said, gone through it yourself and kind of knowing that you need that personalization, you know, that experience in itself then helps you to develop a company that's going to think about that too.
Yes, we as women need to feel more supported.
Yeah, 100%. And I think there's certain needs too as women start to go through perimenopause and menopause. And so we have different needs to say what males may need. And then that personalization becomes even more important.
I couldn't agree more.
Now, when it comes to your top three supplements that women should maybe start to think about to take, just for, maybe general health, what would they be?
So, one you mentioned is vitamin D. I think the support for vitamin D for mood and mental health is very important. And then immunity. So, those two things, vitamin D is so important for. And then bone health. If you're talking about perimenopause and menopause, you really need to support your bone health starting in your 20s and 30s. So, we have a dropper. That's customizable to the season because in the winter or in when it's chilly out, like you're going to need more vitamin D when you're not getting as much sun versus the summer. So, typically for women, we see that they need about 2,000 IU's per day. So that would be like two of our drops. And that would be if you're getting good sun. And then in the winter, you need more like 5,000 IU's. And your doctor can run vitamin D test results. We like to see levels. I like to see levels in the 40s to 50s. A lot of times they'll say, "Oh, you're okay in the 30s." But again, we know bone health, mental health, and immune health, you need that vitamin D. So that would be one of my top. Magnesium. Magnesium is so important. Actually, vitamin D, vitamin K, which we actually add to our vitamin D drops, and then magnesium work synergistically all together to support bone health. But where magnesium really shines is sleeping better, pooping better, and stressing less. And, if you're not going to the bathroom in the morning or you're waking up in the middle of the night, magnesium will absolutely change your life. We call it the miracle worker. And it truly is. So that's probably my number one supplement for everyone, but especially women, is magnesium. And then for overall health, I mean, a probiotic, a personalized probiotic. So that depends on what that person is going through. If they have really good gut health, then it's a multi-strain. If you're looking at the bottle, you want like 5 to 7 strains at least, which really support overall health. I mentioned our go-to probiotic. That kind of has that multi-strain approach. But if you're having gut issues, again, you want a different probiotic. And if you're having UTIs, you want a different one. So that's my third one would be a probiotic.
And when it comes to kind of timing, and say we're just thinking about these three, you've got your vitamin D, you're going to take a probiotic and your magnesium. Does it matter when we take them? Can we take them all together, or should we be spacing them out?
You can take them all together. My only caveat is that magnesium should really, a big dose of magnesium should be at night because it's going to help you get into that deep REM sleep. And then with vitamin D, you want to take it with food. So if you want to take them all together, you could take your vitamin D and your probiotic with dinner and then have a magnesium mocktail, right after dinner.
Probably better than having alcohol. So,
Probably, you'll sleep better, that's for sure.
much better for your health anyway, and your gut health.
Yes.
Now, when it comes to our gut health and food, we've talked about, supplements, we've talked about where we start, but food wise and sort of diet wise, what are some of the things we should be thinking about for our general gut health?
Yes. So one of the some of the most important things is how you're eating. So for example, what's really important is making sure you're getting adequate time between meals. A lot of us women like to snack, oh, I'll have a little bit of food here, a little bit of food there. Why that's not great for gut health and it's not really good for bloating and things like that is because it doesn't allow the gut to rest and digest. The gut digests and then it rests and it cleans itself. So if it's not able to clean itself, that's not good for gut health. It'll increase the amount of bad bacteria in the gut because it wasn't fully able to like eliminate that. So eating 3.5 to 4 hours between meals, leaving 3.5 to 4 hours. So really just having three balanced meals a day. And then not eating while stressed out
Mm.
or eating really fast. That actually, chewing our food is really important for good gut health. Um, a lot of us are eating at our desk, we're eating stressed out. So that's really important. And then the third thing I'll say is variety. Making sure you're not eating the same foods every day. The amount of like variety of plants that you eat actually impacts the amount of good bacteria you have in your gut. So an easy like hack that I like to do for more variety is okay, if I usually get sweet potatoes every week, can I get purple potatoes or can I switch to a yellow potato this week? So it can kind of be fun and easy. Or, if I usually do carrots, can I do rainbow carrots? That actually has been shown the different colors to improve the gut microbiome.
Mm.
And it's
Well,
fun.
I was going to say, I know the different colors have different nutrients in them, and then they
Yes.
feed the different bacteria, which, depending on what bacteria you've got in your gut, some will thrive more than others. But even just getting that variety will make a big difference.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, it's fun, right? Like it doesn't have to be so hard. It can just be like, okay, what am I going to try this week?
Mm. And eating in season as well. I think sometimes, just maybe you're used to eating, broccoli all the time, but maybe that's technically not the season for broccoli. So can you lean into the veggies and stuff that are in season?
Yes, I love that. That's such a good point.
And are there any kind of myths around the gut that we should know about, or maybe people have heard that think that they may be real, but they're not actually?
Yes. So when someone's having a reaction to a food, so for example, okay, I have dairy and I break out. We think that the problem is the dairy. The problem isn't the dairy. The problem is the environment the dairy is going into. It's your gut. Or say, I feel really bloated after I have bread or sugar or insert whatever food that you're having a sensitivity to. We have to heal the gut. It's not the food that's the problem. And that's the biggest misconception we see because so many women come to us and they're like, well, I don't eat this, that, and that because they make me feel bad. And while that's okay for a short period of time, we want to again go back to that variety and we want to heal the gut so that the gut can tolerate, you know, everything pretty much.
And if somebody is listening in and they're kind of having, like what you said, it kind of doesn't matter what they eat, they're getting symptoms like bloating or maybe constipation constantly, and that's having flow-on effects to skin breakouts. Should they be going off to their doctor and getting a poop test done? Like, how do we know when it's time to like go seek a professional's help?
Yeah. So mostly doctors aren't going to run the comprehensive tests we need. A lot of doctors won't do a poop test, right? And even if they will, a lot of doctors are maybe checking for just parasites. So that's where us functional dietitians, that's our bread and butter. That's what we're trained in, is looking at the microbiome really deeply through gut testing. But to your point, it absolutely like if there is a health concern going on, like you said, I'm breaking out all the time, and maybe I'm bloated and constipated. Getting more information than just, going to take our quiz. Let's actually test what's going on in your gut so we're not guessing of how to heal it.
Mm. And where can people find functional medicine dietitians? Is there a registry that people can, search up to try and find you guys?
Oh my gosh, that's such a good question. No, not that I know of. So there's a couple different schools that we can go to. I did my training through IFNA, and so you can maybe find like a functional dietitian there. If you're looking for someone in person, I would just type in, functional medicine dietitian and then where you're located. Our practice is all virtual. So we're able to see people all over the world. And that's again why I created that because I think part of the overwhelm for us as women trying to navigate our health is finding the right practitioner, right? Is saying, like, okay, I know I want help here, but where do I go? So that's such a good question that you asked. There isn't really a directory because there's kind of, different trainings in different schools.
Mm. And I would assume that people thinking, can you do this online? Like, if we need to do testing and you're in the States and I'm in Australia, how does this work?
Oh my gosh, we send it to Australia.
Oh, there you
Yeah, we
go.
have clients in Australia. We have clients in Europe. We have clients in Canada. So yeah, we work with clients all over the world. It's fast shipping.
Yeah. And I think that's good to know because as you kind of touched on with women, another thing that we think about is time, and we tend to be time poor. And if we don't have to, drive an hour to get to somebody and, waste that kind of time, you can just jump online, then that's super handy as well now too.
Oh my gosh, so easy. Absolutely. And that's really like I wanted to take into account like we need easy in this day and age. There's so many things going on in our lives and we need like we need to feel supported in our health.
100%. And when it comes to some of the sort of basic, lifestyle habits that we should be thinking about to maybe support our gut health and our energy, what are your sort of go-tos that you like to do?
Getting the right amount of sleep, I think, is really important. Making sure you're getting quality sleep. So if you're waking up in the middle of the night, that's usually a stress response. So that's why magnesium is so helpful at like calming the nerves, calming the stress. Even taking 5 minutes of deep breathing at night. I know for me, I've been working on my sleep and I've noticed, okay, if I watch TV versus reading a book, I sleep so much better. So just noticing like your habits with that and like good sleep hygiene. So sleep is really important for the gut and overall energy and health. Um, Golly, that's the biggest one that's coming to mind. I mean, and then stress, right? So I love breathing and breath work, meditation. Even if someone's like, okay, I can never meditate, same. I had ADHD so bad. Fixing my gut really helped with that. But even if you're able to like shut your eyes, put on some calm music for 2 to 5 minutes, if you're feeling really stressed, that also improves gut health, improves energy, because we have this gut brain connection. If the mind is stressed out and we have a lot of cortisol, our stress hormone, running through our body, that actually directly affects the gut microbiome. And over time, it changes the amount of good bacteria in the gut, our actual stress levels. Isn't that wild? It's the direct correlation of gut and brain.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And I think, they often refer to the gut now as our second brain because it
Yes.
is so important and so many hormones are made in the gut that, even though we think, our brain is the most important organ, you could almost argue that really the two of them together, the gut and the brain, really need to be our sort of first thoughts when it comes to our health.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I mean, one of the most important hormones that's made in the gut is serotonin, our feel-good hormone, right? And so we were talking, yeah, about this gut brain connection. And if you're not feeling mentally well, if mental health is off, working on the gut as well is going to be so powerful.
Mm. And when it comes to, say, our nutrition and kind of, working on our gut health and maybe adding in layers, I know people probably know they should be eating their fruits and vegetables and, sort of cutting back on some of that sugar. But where does sort of prebiotic foods and probiotic foods come into play as well?
I love them as long as someone's not having a lot of gut issues. So if you're having a lot of gut issues, you might think, okay, I need to work on my gut through food. And maybe to your point, prebiotic and probiotic foods. But actually, if there's too much bad bacteria in the gut, which is often where we see the bloating, the constipation, or going to the bathroom too much, or any of those gut symptoms, um, then we add in more bacteria, even though it's supposed to be good, in terms of like a kefir or a yogurt. We might feel worse because there's just too much bad bacteria in the gut. They're basically like having a party in there. Same with prebiotic rich foods. So onions and garlic, these are such common things that women with a lot of gut issues have sensitivities to. It's the same principle. The prebiotics feed bacteria. They not only feed good bacteria, but they feed the bad bacteria. So heavily prebiotic rich foods might be hard to consume right now. So if you're dealing with a lot of gut issues, actually start with healing the gut, whether you're doing testing or personalized supplements. Then, as we heal the gut, we can add in those foods. If you're someone who's sitting here is like, I feel pretty darn good. Should I add in prebiotic and probiotic rich foods? Yes. And my rule of thumb there is like one probiotic rich food per day. So yogurt or kimchi, or I love, just all the other fermented vegetables that you can get now, at the grocery store. Um, and then prebiotic rich foods are really onions and garlic and things like that.
Mm. Well, I think that's a really good point because I think a lot of people, again, we hear that we should be eating probiotics and prebiotics and probiotics and make sure, you're feeding the gut health. But if you then start doing that and then you have a bit of a flare up, it's going to put you off completely of trying that again.
I know. And that's where the personalization comes in, right? It's like knowing where you're at and getting the support for where you're at is really important.
And then I want to move to exercise a little bit because I know sometimes when we have an upset gut and maybe we have bloating and things, we feel less likely to move. But at the end of the day, it's supposed to help, with everything to get it moving. So, can you share a little bit about exercise and maybe the types of exercises we can be thinking about to help with our gut as well?
Yeah, it's really the low impact things. So even just walking, coming up with a walking routine that's not only great for your gut, it's great for your mental health. Um, 30 minutes a day is fabulous. An hour walk, if that's your exercise, doing it longer term. We like Pilates and yoga, especially if you're dealing with like active gut issues. A lot of like high intensity stuff and strength training stuff is going to make you feel a lot worse. We've had clients who have been doing things like running and a lot of strength training, and then they feel like really bloated after, or they have a stomach ache. Having like a stomach ache post exercise is not a good sign. So if anyone's had that, it's a sign that your body is saying like that was too much stress on the body, trying for something lower impact. And then we of course love weight training. Um, just going heavier and like less reps can be easier for the gut, can be less stress on the body. So those would be my thoughts there.
Well, I think too, as you highlighted with yoga and Pilates, you have that incorporation of your breath work too. So it's going to drop you
Yes.
back or try to drop you back into that parasympathetic, nervous system, that rest and digest, which is going to be more supportive for, digesting your food and your gut health. Whereas if you are doing those high intensity workouts and you're stuck in that sympathetic state and that cortisol is pumping, your blood is really going to be diverting off to your limbs rather than going to your digestive system.
Absolutely. Exactly. Couldn't have explained it better. That was, yeah, absolutely.
And then when it comes to maybe timing exercise around food, I know there's like they say you shouldn't swim directly after eating. Do you know what I mean? Or you shouldn't do a big workout directly after eating. Is there things around our gut and timing of our exercise that can help?
Yeah, I think giving your body enough time to rest and digest, an hour before exercise, really like letting your body rest and digest, and the amount too really matters. And so I know for me, when I was having some gut issues, I really had to leave a lot of time, between. But then supporting like my digestive enzymes or taking digestive enzymes when I eat, helping break down my food better because I knew through testing that I had a tough time doing that. Um, then I could, okay, if I'm supporting my digestive enzymes, then I can break down food easier. So then I can work out, 30 to 1 hour after eating. But that's a great example is don't eat and then go for a run or go do a workout. Um, Leave at least 30 minutes to an hour.
Mm. And then bridging into that, I want to touch on fasting as well, because I think, intermittent fasting and that has become a really big thing. And there's a lot of information out there, and a lot of the sort of research that's been done has been done on males and not necessarily females, but many females are diving into it, based on the male research. So, what are your sort of thoughts on fasting and whether or not women should be including that into their sort of regular schedules as well?
Yeah, I think not eating all the time and really taking those three balanced meals, you will naturally fast overnight, right? And so, really, the timing for women, you bring up a great point. A lot of the research is on males. Male hormones can handle not eating for 18 hours. Our female hormones cannot handle that. And I think a lot of women who try to push themselves to do it, of course, they're trying to do a good thing for their body. And it might not feel good to eat because eating exacerbates symptoms, right? So trying to figure out like women will come to us and say, well, I feel better not eating. Well, you're not digesting. So that makes sense. You know what I mean? If you feel like crap every time after you're eating, you won't want to eat. But to that point, heal the gut, you'll feel good. And then really 10 to 12 hours overnight. So if you stop dinner at 7 or 8 and then you eat at 7 or 8, that's a perfect amount of fasting time for women.
Mm. And I think that's very doable. Do you know what I mean? Like there are some fasting schedules out there that are like, finish eating by 6 p.m. So, you've got to have your dinner by 5 p.m., but then don't eat till midday the next day. And sometimes just, practicality wise with kids or work or whatever, that's just not possible to do.
Yeah, and it's really not good for, again, female hormones, right? So, yeah.
And then when it comes to, we've talked about the gut and all the things around the gut, is there anything else that you think that we should be highlighting that maybe we haven't talked about yet?
Oh my gosh, I feel like we covered so much. Personalized supplements, personalized health, poop testing, nutrition, stress, exercise, sleep. I mean, I think we hit it all.
All
Everyone
the
should
big
have
points.
the perfect blueprint of how to have the best gut.
So let's just look at it. If we had, an ideal day, a woman, who's getting up in the morning and she's going to start her day, what are the sort of things that we maybe will be including for our meals and timing wise for an exercise? So, what would an ideal day kind of look like?
Yeah, so I'll go through my Mondays because that's my best day that I have. Wake up around 8 o'clock, eat around 8:30. Um, Protein, fat, carbs, color, right? So you want to include those at every meal. I think right now we are so focused on protein, and we really just need that balanced meal. So I'll just say them again, protein and then your fat, your healthy fat, carbs, so what are you going to do for your carbs? And then color. And if you have those four things, usually you're doing a good job. I then work out around 11. So I usually do like Pilates around 11. I love a midday workout because then I can eat. Then I eat right after and I give in my body a little bit of time. So maybe you eat around 1, you're working, then you have dinner around 5 or 6, and then you're done for the day. And really trying to incorporate those four components, and then try to, you know, not have many snacks or snacks at all.
That's the hard part, isn't it?
It is, it can be. And so I feel like if you're having to eat like every 2 hours, you're not eating enough when you're eating, or you're not eating balanced enough. So those are the two things to go back to. Okay, did I eat enough quantity? Well, yes, I did, but I didn't have enough healthy fat. Okay, so I'm going to throw in an avocado on top of that egg scramble, maybe. Or maybe I didn't have enough protein. I just really had more of a carbohydrate rich, maybe I had like a sweet potato bowl or a quinoa bowl and I didn't add protein to it. So you're just trying to like, okay, if I do need a snack, why? And like, how could I shift that meal before?
Mm. And then I just want to touch on liquids or drinks because I think with today's society, there's a real big, people are drinking smoothies and they're walking with their chai lattes or their iced coffees or there's a lot of more of that that's starting to come into play. So does it matter, does coffee affect the gut or, do you drinking, these different types of drinks, do they have a change in our gut health as well?
Yes. So coffee can be a gut irritant. So just figuring out for you if it's irritating your gut. We find when our clients come work with us, that is the last thing they would ever want to give up or decrease. And we are really in tune with what you want to do to change your life. You know what I mean? Like if you're like, I'm not giving up my coffee, we're not going to tell you to give up your coffee. We'll just say, okay, instead of having it black, should we actually add milk to it? You know what I mean? To like make it a little bit more less acidic. So coffee can be a gut irritant, but just see how you feel after it. I know my mom was having like 5 cups of coffee a day. So I was like, Mom, can we do two? And that really helped her and it really helped the bloating. Carbonated drinks, which I'm drinking right now, can be really fussy for the gut. So like a sparkling water can cause more bloating if you're having gut issues. So just look out for that. And then a lot of the drinks can get really sugary. We know sugar can make an imbalanced microbiome, so chai latte or, really sugary coffee drink. Just looking out for that. And it really just adds up throughout the day. So if you want to have like your sweet treat, you know, pick something you really love.
Mm. And have it just sometimes, not every day.
Yeah, 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 exactly.
Now, I always like to ask my guests that come on the show if there's one piece of health advice that you could give to our listeners that after listening to this conversation that they could go off and just instigate straight away, what would it be?
Oh, that's such a great question. I'm going to go with take your magnesium because if there's one thing that I know will change your life and you're not taking magnesium right now, I will guarantee it will change your life. And we are all so, so, so deficient because of what's in our food and the amount of stress that our bodies are under. So if there's something that I know will change your life in a few days, it's that.
Amazing. And on that, talking about magnesium, does it matter what form people take it in, whether or not they take it in a tablet or a powder, or you can get the magnesium oil, to rub on your skin?
Yes, internally we really love. Powder will have a little bit better absorption than capsules, but for example, we sell powder or capsules. So really, it's whatever thing you'll be consistent with. I love a powder because it just tastes so good. You put it in water and it tastes like a mocktail at night. But in terms of the type of magnesium is really important. So we use a bisglycinate. You'll hear people talk about glycinate, using it for stress. We love to use it for pooping too. It's really the most absorbable form. So it's going to work for the most amount of things in the body versus like a citrate. That's just kind of like a magnesium citrate will give you like a laxative effect, which is not good because you'll feel cramping and crappy. So magnesium glycinate is the one to look for.
Amazing. Great. Because I know that's like a big question that people are always asking because a lot of the different, magnesiums you can get out there will have varying different types of magnesium in the supplement. And then it's
Yeah.
sometimes just knowing again which one you should be taking.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing. So where can our listeners reach out, connect with you, follow you, and make appointments if they need?
Yes. So gutpersonal.com will include a discount code if they want anything supplement wise or gut testing. The discount code will be $150 off gut testing if they decide they want to do that. I'm Bridgitte Mallinson on Instagram. Anyone can always feel free to reach out directly to me. I love talking and connecting and personalizing people in my DMs every single day. asking about supplements. And it's the biggest honor and the thing that I love doing to help, you know, to help you. So please shoot me in a DM. And then we're Gut Personal on Instagram. Let's Gut Personal on TikTok. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, I'll put that on the show notes too. So listeners, head across there for all those contact details and to get that discount code too. And I just want to say thank you again for coming on the show. I think this is
Yes.
a really important topic to talk about. I think supplements, as you sort of said, need to be individualized. And as lovely as it would be to get everything from our diet, with the soil, depletion happening and all the rest of it, it's just really not possible for the majority of people anyway.
So agree. Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.